Hey, what's up, guys? It's Julius DeBerry with Majestic Studios. If you're in the market for a new converter, or if you're even looking for a way to get multiple analog inputs, things like keyboards, to your computer or to your interface, keep watching this video. I have some converters that I recently purchased for my studio, and I'm going to use them for my keyboards mainly. If that's something that you'd be interested in, keep watching. This video should have some pretty good information to help you guys if you're looking to make that decision. Also, while you're here, don't forget to please like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like the videos, hit the notification bell so you stay up to date when new content is uploaded, so you can stay in the mix of when I get new content out. The first question I want to ask is, how do you connect your keyboards to your computer? In most cases, we are just using our audio interface and connecting our keyboards directly to the interface and then the interface to the computer. But after you get so many different keyboards, you're probably either going to run out of inputs, or you're going to realize that your keyboards are taking up too many inputs on your interface and you're going to need to do something different. I've been in this scenario off and on for quite a while. I generally keep quite a few keyboards, and I'm usually in a battle with how I'm going to get all of those keyboards to my computer all at one time. All right, so it's not that I have to have all the keyboards connected to the computer because they're all being recorded at the same time. It's more so like a personal preference. I just don't like having to route and wire keyboards every time I get ready to use them, and then when I'm done with them, taking them back down and unplugging stuff so I can plug something else in. That's just been a little pet peeve of mine as long as I've been doing like studio stuff. I've wanted all of the inputs to be hot and recordable at any given moment. There's been times over the years that I've literally sacrificed quality of the inputs for the quantity of inputs. It was just more important for me to be able to plug everything up all at one time instead of having a couple of very high quality inputs to send my keyboard signals to my interface and then to my computer. Some of the things I've tried over the years is a Mackie Onyx mixer. I've used a Mackie Onyx mixer to submix the keyboards, meaning I would take all of the keyboards and send all of the signals to the Mackie Onyx mixer, and then I would take like 2 to 3 stereo pairs of outputs from the mixer and send those outputs to my interface, and then just whichever keyboard I was recording or using at that specific time, I would just arm those channels, and that worked out a little bit for a while. For a short time, I also used the Behringer X32 to do the same thing. I would send the signals from the keyboard to the mixer, and then from the mixer using the outputs from the mixer, and then submixing those to send it to the computer, just like I did with the Mackie Onyx. I've tried patch bays, and that's a pretty good option because you can plug all the keyboards up to the patch bay, and then you just route a few of the channels from the patch bay out to your interface. And depending on which keyboard you want to use at a certain time, you can just patch that keyboard into the interface. So that works well. The problem that I had with that was I just never wanted to invest a lot of money into a high quality patch bay because it didn't seem like it was a viable option for me for long term. Because even with that option, just like with submixing a keyboard, I was only really allowed to use so many channels at a time, and I was really limited to how many outputs are on the mixer, or how many outputs are coming from the patch bay into the interface. So kind of still run into the same limitation of the number of channels that the keyboards are taking up on the actual audio interface. Most recently, I've been using a patch bay to route the keyboards to a rack DI made by Radial called the JD6. So I would send 6 channels of keyboards from the patch bay to the JD, and then from the JD to the interface. And still, same problem there. We're limited to the number of channels, number of stereo channels that we're able to send, because it's taking up too many channels, or more channels than I really want to be taken up with keyboards on the interface. My issue was I needed a way to get 12 to 16 channels of keyboards from one side of the room to the other side of the room, and I needed to do it in as high quality of fashion as possible. I also wanted to get rid of the 1/4-inch cables that I had running from one side of the room to the other. I had I think 12 to 14 lines of 25-foot cables that were running from one side of the room to the other. And I just wanted to get rid of that and make a more seamless and appealing way for me to get the signals from one side to the other. Now, there are quite a few rack units that you can look at in this same market as far as sending analog gear to an interface that will help you get rid of all of those 1/4-inch cables. There's a lot of rack ADAT units that you can purchase, and those would have completely solved my problem and probably will do the same for you. In most cases, that's going to probably do the trick. But for me, my ADAT ports were already being used by something else. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later as well. The ADAT ports were being used. The ADAT ports were being used by something else initially, and so because of that, I could not really consider ADAT as a viable option to route the gear from to route the signals from the keyboards to the interface. So that brought me to start researching another protocol called MADI. My main interface that I use in my studio is the Analog Goliath. One of the connection types that it has on the interface is called MADI. The Goliath is one of the best, in my opinion, one of the best bang for the buck and one of the best interfaces that you can buy. When you look at the number of inputs and outputs that you get for the price point, it's going to be very hard to beat something like that as far as the quality and the number of inputs you get at the same time. I know a lot of people have had varied experiences with analog, but mine have been great pretty much from start to finish. And the Analog Goliath is a very, very good interface. It has been very, very good to me, and that's why I use it. They are expensive, but the amount of flexibility that you get with the number of inputs and outputs is just kind of hard to beat that unit at that price point. But one of the connections on it is MADI. And MADI is a protocol that allows you to send up to 64 channels across one cable in or out of a single unit. So once I started researching MADI and how I could use it in my studio, it kind of opened up the doors for me to do a few different things. One of them is what led me to these converters, the Ferrofish Pulse units. And so we're going to now talk about them just a little bit. Okay, so when it comes to the number of inputs that I needed and not using ADAT, and MADI being the option that I decided to go with, the pickings were very slim. There wasn't a lot of interfaces or converter units or gear period that would have the number of 1/4-inch inputs that I needed that also had MADI inputs. And so it wasn't very hard for me to make the decision, especially once I was able to see what other people were saying as far as the quality of the product and the way that they were utilizing it. It seemed like it would be a good option for what I needed in my studio. Okay, so they have 3 units now that are in this family. There's a Ferrofish Pulse 16, which just has standard ADAT. It has the 16 1/4-inch inputs on the back, and then it has ADAT ports to being able to route these inputs and outputs in and out of the unit via the ADAT port. All right, so that's the first one. The second one in the family is the one that I have, and this is the Pulse 16 MX. Now, this is the exact same as the Pulse 16, except this one also has a MADI port on it as well. Now, interesting enough, if you have or if you get the very first Pulse 16, which only comes standard with the ADAT ports, you can upgrade it using a code that you have to purchase from Ferrofish, and you also have to buy a hardware expansion card, little chip that you're going to insert in the unit, and then once you put the code in that you purchase from them, you can activate it and be able to use the MADI ports on the unit as well. But I knew for sure that I needed MADI, so I went ahead and purchased the one with MADI on it. And then from there, there's one other one that's the Pulse 16 DX. And that one is the exact same as the Pulse 16 and the Pulse 16 MX, except it adds Dante as another connection option on the unit. So this MX unit was perfect for me. It has 16 quarter-inch balanced inputs on the back and 16 quarter-inch balanced outputs as well. You can utilize these to route the signals in and out of the unit as you see fit. There's a routing matrix. I think there's a mobile app or a computer app that you can also use to help control it. So that's going to be very beneficial for me. I won't have to do a lot of reaching and to be able to get to the menus. But one of the things that I did see in the reviews, not reviews, but the stuff I was reading about the unit was that this screen is really nice to be able to use, and it has meter feedback to show you the input signal and the output signal. I do plan to do a box opening for these units, so we'll kind of go over the interface and how it looks and that sort of thing once I get ready to do that. But right now, I just wanted to talk to you guys about the specs and why I chose the unit itself. So again, I want to say I'm able to add all of my keyboards, the inputs that I have, the various inputs that I'll need for keyboards, drum machines, things like that. I'll be able to add those all directly right here into the back of the unit, and then using a single MADI cable, I will send those 16 channels out of the Ferrofish to my Goliath, and then my computer will be able to pick up the signals and read them for recording purposes and playback. But something that's really cool about this unit is, like I told you, the MADI protocol would allow me to send 64 channels. But what's really nice about this is that if I do run out of these analog inputs for my keyboards, I can purchase another Ferrofish, or I can purchase another converter of some sort that has these quarter-inch signals, and then I could send those quarter-inch signals from that box to the Ferrofish via the ADAT ports. And then once it's in the unit via the ADAT ports, I can then route those signals from the other box to the Ferrofish and out of the Ferrofish using the MADI connection. That's golden. So I don't want to say unlimited expansion options, but I think it'll be quite a bit of time before I'm able to exhaust the inputs on this. And like I said, if I do run out, I can just purchase another like less expensive converter or less expensive AD box to get my whatever signals I'm trying to route from the Ferrofish to my computer. Now, bringing up analog gear, that's another reason why I purchased these. I also have outboard gear in my studio that I use to record vocals. So that's why I purchased a second unit. So one of these units is going to go on one side of my room where my keyboards are. The other box is going to go in my desk, and I'm going to use that box to connect my my preamps to the box, and then use this to send the signal to my computer, to my interface, instead of routing the preamps directly to the interface. So that'll free up some channels for me there, because I can use, that's what I'm going to use some of the ADAT slots I was talking about earlier from here to send to my computer. So if you have outboard gear like preamps, EQs, compressors, those type of things, you can also use those to connect to the Ferrofish, and then use the Ferrofish ADAT or MADI port or Dante port, whichever one you decide to purchase. Use that to send your interface, and then you could free up some of those other line input channels on your interface for other things. So if you're in the market for a way to connect a lot of keyboards to your computer for recording purposes, for playback purposes, and you don't want to, have a whole lot of quarter-inch cables, you kind of want to get a cleaner look with a very high quality signal, you should definitely consider one of these. I think it's going to be very great for me and my workflow. I think it's going to help in quite a few ways. And like I said, I'll also be able to use it to my external preamps that I'm using for recording. I'll be able to connect those to the second unit and send it all to the Goliath and let the Goliath do its great work. So if you guys have any questions or concerns or things you want to talk about concerning these units or anything like that, leave it in the comments. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share the content. If this stuff is helping you, it'll probably help someone else out as well. And also, let me know what you guys are using. If you guys have found other viable options that you're using to convert your analog keyboards or analog gear to digital to get everything sent to your computer, let's talk about it down in the comments. Maybe this option is good, but maybe there's something better out there, and I want everybody to know everything they can know. So talk to you guys later. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you later.